morning, everyone. I am Luke. I am the next gen minister here at Faith Christian. I am so excited that I get to spend a morning with you and that we get to talk a little bit about family. Before we get into our topic this morning, I did want to invite you, high schoolers, yes you, to join us for a small group on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock here at the church. We're going to be socially distancing, trying to be safe as we can, but we're going to have a small group time here. So what that means is we're going to just kind of figure out how to do life as a group and loving Jesus and what that means. So that might be your next step as a high schooler, is joining this small group, getting plugged in. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have some food. That is a staple. That is always going to happen. And we'll be here and we'll have a good time. Thursday at 7 for high schoolers. We'll see you there. And we're going to talk about family today. And, I don't know what you think about when you hear that word family, but I think about, my mom and dad and my 3 sisters. I think about, growing up, I was homeschooled, and then I went to my high school for high school. And so I think about that a lot. And when I think about my family, I just think about the hanging out that we do, the conversations that we have now that we're grown up. When we were younger, when we were in middle school, high school, there were some interesting times, definitely. You might think about some frustration. I know that I had some. Being the only boy in the family, there was some frustration. Annoyance. I know that I annoyed a lot, and also some more than a little bit of chaos. That's currently my kids. That there's plenty of chaos. Even if you don't feel, the frustration, annoyance, chaos, and there's that spectrum of, awesome to awful with your family, and very rarely are you ever, in that sweet spot of right in the middle of it's not really awful, but you're not too far. And even if you are in that awesome spot, it can swing to that awful so quickly. And I don't know what you think about, when you hear that word family. It might be one of these things, it might be something different, but the feelings that we have about our families, those are unique to us, right? What I feel about my family may not be exactly how you feel about that. But the other side that's unique is that every family is unique, right? I grew up with 3 sisters, a mom and a dad. You might be growing up with grandma and grandpa, or an aunt and uncle. You might have 2 siblings, you might have 3, you might have 4, you might have 5, you might have 6. You might only live with mom, you might only live with dad. The uniqueness, there might be foster kids, there might be step siblings, there might be half siblings. There's so many different scenarios that our families can be in, right? You might be an oldest child, you might be a youngest child, you might be the middle child, middle kids, but every family is unique. But something that we all have in common is that every family is complicated. That's the truth. No family avoids complications, right? Even though we might not act the same, we might not have the same makeup, and we all have that complexity. But it's not really a surprise either. We put a bunch of different people with different opinions, different perspectives, different preferences, different ways that they communicate, in different ways that they want to be communicated to. That is just like a disaster waiting to happen. And when disaster does happen, we all settle into different roles that we kind of fit into. And what I mean by that is the ways that we make our family work, right? So you might have a role in your family. So some of you might be the mediator. That was a lot of times my role growing up. I kind of wanted to make sure that everyone was happy with each other and we could move on with their day, but I wanted everyone to be happy. So we could move on till everyone was good to go. You might be the avoider, right? The avoider that, you are going to just put your head down, act like nothing happened, and move on with your day. Hopefully everything's going to, blow over and we can just keep going. Some of you might be the instigator. I like to think that I kind of had all the other roles, and my three sisters they settled on this one, the instigator. That's my perspective. They may have a different one. But the instigator, so you might be jumping into that situation, giving your opinion, and making sure that everyone else ends up with your opinion as well. The instigator. Some of you guys are going to be the smart one. The one that's going to use your brain to figure out the problem and solve it using intelligence. And there's a book about this. We can solve this problem intellectually. Some of you guys are going to be the rule follower. There is a procedure. There's a thing that we have to do next to get through this. And so some of you guys are going to be a rule follower. And some of you guys are going to be the comedian. If we can make a joke about it, if we can bring some levity to the situation, that's going to make everyone feel better. That's going to make everyone be able to move on with their life. We all settle into these roles, and yours might be something different. This list could go on and on and on. But there's something else that kind of adds another twist to it that we kind of have to address, is this idea of how faith and family mix, right? So how does this mess of a family, it's complicated, it's chaotic, it's annoying, how does that mesh with faith? How do they connect? That's just adding another level of complexity to what's already really, hard to figure out. And, sometimes it feels like faith and family don't mix well. That might be because you're the only one who has a faith at home. That's a possibility. Maybe it's because mom and dad, they love you, and so they drag you to church, but it's not your faith, it's theirs. It might be because, there's this expectation that's put on you because you go to church, because you're supposed to be a Christian. It adds another layer of complexity to family. For a lot of us, though, that faith, here at your church life and your family life, those a lot of times they feel separate. They feel like they shouldn't be together, and we don't know how to bridge that. So today we're going to talk about how to do that, right? We're going to look at the Bible and kind of see how faith and family go together. So we're going to look in this book called John, because this guy named John wrote this book. And it's an account of Jesus. It's in the New Testament because it's talking about Jesus. And in this section that we're going to look at, it's the night before Jesus is handed over to be crucified. So it's his last time with his friends, who at this point really were like family. They had spent 3 years nonstop together with these 12 guys and Jesus. They spent every minute together. Not everyone got to do that. But these 12 guys and Jesus, they were family. So here's John 13:1. So it was just before the Passover festival. Jesus knew that the hour had come for him to leave this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. So Jesus loved his disciples, these ones that were his own, that it says in this verse. He's talking about those disciples, those friends that he just spent a ton of time and energy with. He knew that it was time that he was going to have to leave them, and this was his last chance to spend any time with them. And so listen to what he did during that time. Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. After that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with a towel that was wrapped around him. So I want you to think about this for a minute. Jesus was a guy who was kind of important, right? He was a teacher. He was a guy with authority. People looked up to him. He was kind of a big deal. And to wash anyone's feet, that was servant work. That was, the lowest people in society's job. Because feet are nasty. Like, now we wear shoes and socks, even like sandals, and the feet get nasty. But think about, 2,000 years ago, they were even more nasty because they were dirt roads with open-toe sandals. And livestock was like the main product being traded and traveling on these roads. So think about what happens when there's a large group of animals and what ends up on the ground. And you have to walk through that. And it ends up all over your feet. So that's what Jesus is cleaning up. He's spending time, his last few hours alive, cleaning crap off of people's nasty feet. That's different. And the disciples, they did not know how to react to Jesus' act of kindness, right? Of his act of love. Then Jesus went on to explain that one of those guys that he just, first off, spent a whole, several years with, and then also cleaned his feet, one of them was going to betray him so that he would have to die. And another one was going to deny even knowing that they were friends, that they even had ever talked to each other, that they even knew each other. Because Peter was going to end up saying, I don't even know Jesus. But he's one of his closest friends in reality. So it was a complicated moment. But look what Jesus says. He says, a new command I give you. Love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. So, in other words, Jesus is saying, how do people know that you're following me? It's by love. And Jesus is saying, hey, remember what I did a few minutes ago? Yeah, that's an example. Do that to each other, but not just feet. I humbled myself. Go and do the same. Again, how do people know that you're a follower of Jesus? It's simple. It's love. It's love. We are to love people around us. So that's loving our friends, our teachers, our classmates, our family. We're to love. And your friends, your teachers, strangers, and even your family will know that you have faith. They will know your faith by the way that you love. And it's not always easy, but demonstrating love in difficulty, that makes you more like Christ. And that's the goal. That's the goal of any of this, is to become more like Christ. The reason that you have sat through the last several minutes of me talking to you is because you want to be more like Jesus. But just listening to this, that's not going to get you more like Jesus. Going and doing what I'm saying is going to get you to be more like Jesus. God wants us to use our family, those people who are closest to us, sometimes physically, sometimes emotionally and mentally. The people who are closest to us, God wants us to use them, the good and the bad, so that we can learn to love better. So that when your brother or your sister or whoever is just annoying the poop out of you, you can use that moment to learn how to love them better. But why? Because love matters most. So what does it look like to love in the middle of complicated family situations? This guy named Paul, he writes a letter to a church, and he basically lays it out like, this is what it looks like. And we actually call this chapter the love chapter because it talks all about love. And here's what it says. It says, love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. So if you want your faith to help your family, then show as much love as you can. It never fails. I love that. It never fails. And when it comes to your family, love matters most. And if you want your faith to help your family, then show as much love as you can. Because when it comes to your faith and family, love matters most. So, trying to love, especially your family, can seem overwhelming. So, here's a good way to start. Show kindness, patience, and be slow to anger. So, and which one of those stands out to you? You know, that's a good question, is which one is most difficult? Because if you can do these three things, that is going to help your family, right? Being kind, patient, and slow to anger, that is going to help your family. Because that's going to set the stage for everyone else. If you are normally quick to anger, and all of a sudden you take a breath, and then go into a conversation that's not going to be fun, that's going to set the stage for your parents or grandparents or siblings or step-siblings or, you know, whoever that ends up being. Pick one of those things. Pick one of them and ask God to give you the power to start demonstrating that with your family. So that might be, okay, I'm going to be patient. I'm not going to lose my cool right away. And I realize that, you know, this is nice to hear. Nice to hear you talk about that. Great job. But I know that it's not easy because I struggle with the same things, right? I struggle with not being quick to anger. And that's something that I am working through still and have been for a long time, and especially with family. Those are the people that it's easiest to explode at right off the bat. But that's why we have a small group starting on Thursday, so that we can work through some of these things, so that there can be a place for you to talk, so that there can be a place for you to kind of say, here's what I'm dealing with. And, you know, we'll get there as a group. We're not going to start on Thursday saying, tell me your deepest, darkest secrets, because that's not how it works. And I understand that. But there's that at least that community there of we're kind of all going through at least similar, different, unique situations, but similar, right? We're all dealing with the complicated family. And, you know, I know that this might feel impossible, but imagine if your family could actually be better than they are now. Imagine if your faith could actually grow because of your family. Because when it comes to your family, your faith matters the most. When it comes to your family, your faith matters the most. And when you combine those two things, you get love. And love matters most. So you guys, I hope that you do that this week. I hope that you guys jump in with your families and work on one of those application things. Either it's being kind or slow to anger or being patient. I hope you pick one and run with it. I hope to see you Thursday here at the church. And we will see you next week.